And we're here with Conor Ryan. Conor, what is that?
Evan, I'm doing well. I'm in the parking lot at Gillette Stadium, getting ready for what I assume is going to be a riveting Monday Night Football matchup between the Patriots and the Bears. But I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm great. I'm not as good as you are, clearly. Everyone always loves the Conor Ryan parking lot episodes. It's become a trademark of both podcasts. Everybody loves when you're in the parking lot. I've yet to do a parking lot episode. So maybe I'm up next. Maybe I need to be the one to do the next parking lot episode. Maybe that's how we should divvy it out. But
I mean, I got to tell you, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a tailgate behind me, and I believe they're playing a cover of a Four Non Blonde song, but it's involving Bailey Zappi. So I don't know if the sultry tones of this cover band, hopefully it's not coming through the microphone, but I can currently hear it right now, but I'm gonna power through whatever melody is going on behind me. But
I don't hear it at
we'll see.
all. I kind of wish we did. I wish there was. It's like
No, you don't.
Boots on the ground reporting.
It's quite bad. It's not great, Evan. Let me tell you.
Well, it's like sometimes I remember sometimes people will send me Bruins songs that they make up, that they put together. I've never publicized them because I just don't. But a few years ago, someone sent me when the Bruins were in the 2019 Cup final, they sent me a huge song with lyrics and singing and everything. I've since deleted it, I think, so it might be gone. But if I can find it, I'll pull up the song. Maybe I'll sing it live on air because oh boy, some real shoehorning the lyrics there. But anyways, Bruins to get to, as always. And I want to ask you a question, Conor. Are you surprised? 5-1-0, third most goals for per game, mid-tier goals against per game, which is fine. But again, best team in the NHL right now, at least points wise.
Yeah, I think, we talked about this before, Evan, that we both thought this was going to be a very good team. But I think we both also noted and threw in a qualifier there that this is still going to be a team that is going to be treading water, I think was the term we used. I saw a lot of people after the Bruins went to 5-1-0. They mentioned treading water as a phrase in terms of how they're not really doing that right now. They're kind of exceeding expectations. Again, is it something where I think they're going to come down to earth a little bit? I think so within the next couple of weeks, just because even Jim Montgomery said whether it's the defense still having to sort some things out or the Bruins offensively, I think their shooting percentages far beyond like the league average. I think it's something that we're just due to regress just in terms of getting back to the mean there. But that being said, I mean, that just because I think they're due to take a step back doesn't mean they're going to go, 1-5-2 in a couple of weeks or anything like that, right? Like they're putting themselves in a really good spot to be in a playoff picture. It helps too that other teams are struggling out of the gate. You look at Florida and the way their defense is looking. Toronto's won a couple, but yeah, exactly. Toronto's a team that it seems like they're running the ship a little bit, but that goalie situation, you can kind of never tell there as well. So it's going from a situation where if the Bruins keep up this level of play, or at least win the games they need to win, be competitive in these kind of tougher matchups you see maybe next week with a team like the Rangers or Pittsburgh, what have you. They're putting themselves in a spot where instead of it being, hovering around 500, treading water by the time Marchand and McAvoy get back, they're in a spot where maybe they're second or third in the Atlantic, and all of a sudden you have these huge reinforcements coming to continue to put you over the top. So it's a good spot to be in if you're the Bruins right now.
Again, it just feels like a best case scenario to start the season. I mean, I know Swayman has not been, I think, the guy they'd hoped for. Again, it's been 2 games for Jeremy Swayman, but I still look at the rest of this roster. We're going to get into it later in this episode where like things are just going right. I mean, again, no one expects them to keep up this 5-1-0 pace through the first 2 months of the season without Marchand and McAvoy. But I don't know how you're not encouraged by what you're seeing. I mean, again, like as you said, if they are second or third in the Atlantic when Marchand and McAvoy come back, oh boy. Like, and again, it comes back to, and this is the question I think we're going to revisit a lot this year. Are they legitimate Stanley Cup contenders? Now, again, we have them in our Stanley Cup because I think we both look at it like it's going to be a last dance. Everything's going to work. And so far, that's how it's been. We don't expect that to continue, every week of the season. It's hard to kind of, say that's going to be the case, but I still look at if they are in a position like this to start the, when Marchand and McAvoy come back, and it's hard not to be like, hey, this is a legit cup contender. Like if they continue to play like this. Now, again, it's the beginning of the year. The Buffalo Sabres have the second most goals for in the NHL. Like these things, the beginning of the season,
things are
weird.
wonky.
things are wonky, but I don't think it's wonky with the Bruins. I don't think this is a Buffalo Sabres type thing. I think this team is legitimately good. And you can look at like, oh, they've blown some leads, but their biggest problem in past years has always been that depth scoring and offense and getting production outside of the top, outside of, Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak. And they're getting that now, which makes you think again, like if this keeps up, I don't know how they're not cup contenders. I know it's 6 games in, but I don't know how they're not.
Yeah, I mean, they're just built. You look at just the way their roster is structured and the amount of guys that are pulling their weight right now. And it's encouraging the fact that you're getting that secondary scoring without really the lines being set, right? Like we still don't know, like by the end of this, like if you told me if I had a clear cut idea of what the bottom 6 was going to be in March or April, couldn't tell you. Like whether it's the younger players who haven't maybe got a shot yet, or whether Greer can keep it up, whether Foligno, who's been awesome to start the year, is going to be in that spot. But you're still just getting contributions up and down the lineup right now. When you look at the fact that even on defense, for as much people talked about the fact that they're shorthanded and they're still kind of working through implementing the new systems in place with Montgomery. Sure, you can talk maybe about guys like Zaboral, who have been kind of slow out of the gate, but you can also counter that by the fact that other guys have really stepped up, right? Like I think Forward's been really, really good. I think Clifton as like the lone right shot defenseman has been really, really good.
I was going to say Clifton's been good.
So like you're getting all these other guys that are stepping up here. And again, that doesn't mean that you need Connor Clifton to all of a sudden jump up and be a top 4 defenseman for the stretch run, or you need Forward to be more than anything of what he is, right? In terms of being a PK specialist, stay-at-home guy.
Princess Peach.
Again, it's exactly, yes, of course. But I think when you look at it, and this is something we talked about in terms of just what they're hoping to get out of just the natural lift from having a guy like Jim Montgomery in, if every single guy in that lineup, or at least most of them, just gives you 5% more in terms of what they can give to this team on a nightly basis, put those all together, you kind of pool that collective effort and that, collective talent. And you've got a pretty good team, like complementing what is already a pretty set in stone core, right?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And that's why, like, again, there's been a lot there that has worked. And one of those things that has worked is Nick Foligno. And you mentioned it a little bit, talking about him in the bottom 6. And I mean, again, you look at Foligno, 3 goals and assist in 6 games, could have had another goal. There was, post, just genuinely playing better. And I look at a guy like Foligno and I say, wait a second, I know we spent most of the offseason kind of saying, hey, this might be kind of dead weight on the roster. You need to kind of free up some cap space, buy him out. And again, it's only 6 games, but we're kind of getting proven wrong on that. I mean, again, I think, I looked at the comments from Foligno back in training camp, and he was like, oh, I'm in great shape and I feel great again. And this, that, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh, a lot of players say that, he looked genuinely slow last year, but it is starting to look like, hey, he was really hampered by, the injuries that hit him last year and the slow start. And suddenly, like, I'm not saying Foligno's, the godsend for this team, but to get production out of a place like that, where you expected kind of nothing from, I feel like it's a big part of why this team's doing pretty well right now.
No, it's been huge. And I think when you look at Foligno, and of course, I think it's natural for anyone, whether it's media or fans, to kind of roll their eyes in terms of the kind of the usual preseason cliches, right? Of finally healthy, best shape of my life.
I'm in the greatest shape of my life.
Yeah. It's only natural to, have a lot of caution when it comes to things like that. You even look at Foligno. It wasn't just that last year was so poor, but it seemed like it was just a downward slide for him, right? In terms of, especially just his offense production over his last year in Columbus, the year prior with Toronto. It just seems like the writing was on the wall, right? That he just only didn't have that much gas left in the tank. And again, as you said, 6 games in, but it's proven a lot of people wrong. I mean, it's not just the fact that he's got the actual tangible production, right? I mean, he's already surpassed his goal total from last year, which is pretty good, but just the eye test, right? Like he's arriving on pucks a lot quicker. He even had like that one dangle I think he had in the last game. Like, I don't think he's gonna be doing that every night, but you just see him, be more engaged, just, a lot faster. And for what he brings in that team, right? Again, are we expecting him to be the 20 goal, 50 point guy that he was in Columbus? No, but if he can give you 10 goals and 20 something points out of a 4th line role while giving you solid defensive play, the intangibles that he already provides, off the ice, that's huge for this team, right? Again, it's something where they clearly value him. If they didn't value him, they wouldn't, they would have bought him out over the summer, right? But so far he's, as you said, he's proving a whole bunch of people wrong.
I think part of the reason Nick Foligno is doing so well and I can't confirm this, but part of the reason I think is he must be taking some like athletic greens. I mean, it has to be the reason, right? Like that's got to be the reason. Unfortunately, you're actually in front of a tropical oasis right now, so you don't even have to change
Beautiful
your
Foxborough.
backdrop. Beautiful Foxborough, Massachusetts. But our next partner is a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted better gut health, more energy. I don't drink coffee or use caffeine because I wanted healthier natural energy, and AG1 has been providing it in droves. Doesn't taste like it's super healthy or anything. Has a mild tropical taste that I actually look forward to each and every morning. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source adaptogens to help you start your day right. Probiotics is in there as well. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. It's lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting really, really good. This all supports better sleep quality and mental clarity. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health. Just grab it like a bull by the horns and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Bruins. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/Bruins. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Beautiful. And again, you have the tropics behind you, so there was no reason to change your background today because you got beautiful Foxborough, Massachusetts tailgaters.
One right in the background, of course.
Yep,
what's better?
That's what you would see in Hawaii.
Guys being dudes.
Yeah, exactly. And just having a great time. And exactly, that's what we'd see in Hawaii or, Costa Rica or the Bahamas. Like that's the same thing you'd get. It's the same feeling you
Red
get when
Wing
you take
Diner is famously located on Waikiki Beach. Yes,
exactly. People forget that. And you know what? It's exactly the feeling you'll get when you take a drink of Athletic Greens. So make sure to go do that now. Anyways, Foligno's an interesting case. And as I said, again, we looked at him in the offseason and kind of wrote him off. It still feels kind of early to give a full judgment on that. It feels like Foligno's a case, and this might sound like, oh, Captain Obvious Evans speaking again. But if he stays healthy, and you think about the postseason, right? Like you can crap on Foligno all you want. He's older. He had a bad year last year. The regression's been, more than just a year. But he's a guy with postseason experience. And if he's healthy all year, and as you said, you can get, 20, 30 points out of him. And suddenly you're in a second round series against the Lightning or the Leafs or even like the Panthers. And you're kind of digging for those goals in the bottom 6. He's a guy. And again, I'm going so far ahead of everything here, but he's a guy who I look at and go, he's almost kind of reliable for that, just given his experience.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the guys you kind of need in a playoff run, right? In terms of veteran guys that have been there before that can really rally guys on the bench in the room, which again, the Bruins have no shortage of that, but just having one more guy like that on this roster is huge for them. And again, when he's engaged and when he's effective, it's usually when he's driving into grade A ice or, he had that one finish where he sniped that puck from the left circle, but a few of his other chances have been, tips, rebounds, all those kind of greasy goals that tend to be the primary way you bury those chances, especially as a bottom 6 team or a bottom 6 line in the playoffs. So I think for the Bruins, yeah, they're hoping that a guy like Foligno can continue to keep up this pace because he's just one of those kind of foot soldier, middle of the lineup, bottom of the lineup guys that tend to really prove their value during the playoffs, right? Like usually playoffs, it's never always the big guns or the top 6 or the star players that carry you along the way to a playoff run. To win a Stanley Cup, you need everyone all across the lineup to have at least one memorable shift or memorable game. And a guy like Foligno is a guy that you can usually try to trust on there in order to get sustained playoff run.
And again, it could change. Like Foligno could go the next 10 games where he's not noticeable. He's, healthy scratched. And we could sit here and be like, hey, you know what? Like that was just a good start to the year. You never know. But it feels like this is a little different because it feels like he's almost getting a fair shot, just given the fact that he's healthy. New coach. I mean, this has been one thing that he's kind of talked about is the new coach has helped him out. I mean, you look at even the way you look at that goal against Minnesota on Saturday, where he just kind of, finds space, is in the right position from the puck and just sniped it. And like, again, that doesn't always happen, but his ability to find space lately and kind of, use those outs has worked. And again, I say this, it's 6 games in, we got to temper ourselves a bit, but another person who's been quite impressive to start, honestly, Linus Ullmark. Linus Ullmark's been outstanding through the 6 games. I mean, he's only played 4 of them, but in the start of the year, I mean, again, you look at how good he was against Anaheim and Minnesota. You look at the 929 save percentage, 223 goals against average. I believe his high danger goals against average is like 0.63, 5-on-5. I could be getting that number wrong, but again, he's been great. And I think it's a good example. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this because, again, we've been used to Cassidy since Yaroslav Halak got here, and he used Halak and Rask pretty much completely split. And he did the same with Ullmark and Swayman last year. And it's a new coach. And I'm wondering if Montgomery ever goes with that approach of, hey, let's ride Ullmark here. I know he spoke today, Monday, and said, hey, I want to ride the hot hand, but I also, we have, a lot of games coming up. Do you think there's a chance that Ullmark separates himself, less than a month into the season?
Yeah. I mean, I think Montgomery is fully in line to, as you said, ride the hot hand. And I imagine he's going to get probably 2 or 3 of these 4 games during this 3 and 4 stretch. And I think it's something that can benefit both guys, right? If you're Ullmark, all right, you have added confidence, you're playing well, and you just look at the eye test in terms of how he's playing. He just seems more relaxed, more composed, more square to the puck. He's tracking well. Just seems like better settled in here. It's something that he talked about earlier this season, where it's much as something that every player goes through when it comes to moving. It still takes time for an athlete to adjust from a place like Buffalo to a place like Boston. The pressure added on in terms of being a starting goaltender for a team like the Bruins. You look at the fact that he's moving, finding a house, school for his kids. Like, all these things are stuff that you don't really think about, but it is an adjustment period for guys. So he just seems more comfortable, more relaxed being here. And so if you're Montgomery and you want to ride the hot hand and give him a lot more starts, at least for now, for Ullmark, that's an added confidence boost in terms of building to that strong start that he has. If you're Swayman too, it adds a little bit more fuel to the fire. This is something we saw last year where it seemed like whenever one guy was on a hot streak, the other guy was really kind of slumping, which worked out well for the Bruins in terms of you have them kind of bouncing off each other. And you hope by doing this of giving Ullmark and rewarding him for his strong start, keep that momentum going, keep on piling on points. But if you're Swayman, it also, again, builds that kind of natural competitive fire. They're best buds. They do their goalie hugs, all that stuff, but it's still from a pro athlete to a pro athlete. You want to be out there as much as possible. So it seems like it's a win-win scenario if Montgomery goes with Ullmark for a majority of the reps, at least for this week.
Yeah, again, I don't think he's going to say Linus Ullmark is the starter for the rest of the year. That is not happening. But I do think it's interesting that, again, kind of like Foligno, I mean, I think a lot of people last year, as good as Ullmark was, people said, that contract isn't worth it. You're paying way too much. And it's like, no, like, that actually was worth it to get a guy like that who can be a starter, was a starter for much of last year, like split the games. And you're seeing that money even pay off a little bit more now. And again, I mean, it sounds like we're just kind of like, oh, these moves are great. And it's like, no, but they're great. They've been good so far, I think, is kind of the key part. Yeah. And again, with a guy like Ullmark, it's working, like it's just, he seems like a fit. He's a nice guy, like he's fun in those like videos, so to me, I look at a guy like Ullmark and I say it's a safe bet. It's a very safe bet that him and Swayman are going to split the net a bit this year. Interesting thing with the Bruins schedule here. And we're not going to sit here and play the old win-loss game with like, oh, they're going to win this one. No, they're going to lose this one, because possible. But their first real road swing of the year, because they've pretty much been at home for most of October. November is going to be a little bit different story. But again, you look at, they have the Stars tonight, Tuesday. They have the Red Wings Thursday. And then they go on the road. Columbus Friday. I just pulled up highlights of the team. That's not good. Then Tuesday, they're in Pittsburgh. Thursday, they're in New York against the Rangers. Saturday, they're in Toronto against the Leafs. Oof. They come home for the Blues, and they have, then the Flames. I'm not going to go too far in advance, but you have a pretty good 4-game road trip there. Your first of the year, you got the Leafs, you got the Rangers, you got the Penguins. The Blue Jackets are not amazing, but, you never know in Columbus. That's going to be the first big test of the year. Hot take. I think that's going to be a real big first test of the year, is how they do that. And I think I will say this, I think if a guy like Linus Ullmark goes in there and let's say they gave him, let's say Swayman got Columbus and Ullmark got 2 of the 3 against New York, Toronto, and Pittsburgh and did well, maybe he's getting more than 55% of the reps. What do you think comes out? I mean, I know it's far in advance. We'll talk about it on Poke the Bear, but what do you think could come out of that road trip?
Yeah, I think that one's going to be, as you say, kind of the first real gut check or the first real test for this team, right? I mean, you could say the Panthers were the first test at home, but that was a team that, sorting through its own issues, pretty much played with 4 defensemen as the game went on because they lost Ekblad, they lost Montour before the game started. But yeah, that's a team where you also look at who they're going up against. You've got kind of different flavors in terms of the other contenders in the East that you're going up against, right? You've got Pittsburgh, which is like averaging 6.5 goals per game to start the year. So that will be
one. Yeah.
There'll be a test for your defense and how kind of this patchwork crew is going to handle themselves, whether it's Ullmark or Swayman. It's going to be tough. You look at the Rangers, who people are viewing as, maybe like kind of a dark horse contender this year based on how they kind of took a big step forward last year. Anytime you go up against Shesterkin, it's a challenge. So see how the Bruins offense can handle against an elite goalie that can win you a series or 2 or 3, right? When you look at Shesterkin when he's on his game. And then Toronto, right? That's a team that we talk about their flaws, but they can still score in a hurry. They're still a team that everyone talks about when it comes to kind of the hurdles in front of the Bruins in the Atlantic. So going up to Scotiabank, it's going to be a challenge there. So if the Bruins come out of that road trip with 2-3 wins, or you're piling on points during that stretch, that's a key barometer in terms of, right, that's kind of that first real tough stretch there. And if they come out of that with points, you have to feel good about where this team is building their game, especially once you look at a week, 2 weeks down the road when McAvoy and Marchand are both back out there.
And can you outscore the Leafs? I think that's a really vital question to this team, because this team through 6 games is beating teams because they're outscoring them. They're not beating them because they're, such great defenders. Mm-hmm. That's kind of been and we talked about this, past podcasts. That's been their issue in the past. Can they outscore a team like Toronto? So that will surely be interesting. But Conor, what can people look forward to from you over at Boston Sports Journal?
Yes, beyond the Patriots coverage that I will have from today's game, I will, of course, have daily coverage of the Bruins, whether it's game reports, practice reports, video breakdowns, features. We had a lovely little feature on Derek Fulbert and his dog Dala.
Yes, came out this very weekend, nice.
Which came out very well. So we'll have that stuff every single day throughout this NHL season. So please follow along and subscribe at bostonsportsjournal.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at ConorRyan_93.
Go do all of that. For CLNS Media, I'm Evan Marinofsky. Bruins beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.